One thing surprises almost everyone who first studies ancient Egypt. The Egyptians didn't have one god of death. They had many, because to them, death wasn't just one event. Death wasn't just one event. It was a journey. And every part of that journey had its own guardian. One protected your body. One judged your heart. One recorded your actions. One defended your tomb. One welcomed you into eternal life. It's almost like the afterlife had an entire government, yeah? Egyptian gods. Isis, the woman who didn't let death win. Have you ever noticed anything? Almost every ancient civilization had a powerful god of thunder, or war, or the sea. But ancient Egypt, one of its most beloved gods, was a woman whose greatest power wasn't fighting, but refusing to give up on the one she loved. Her name was Isis. And let's be honest, if ancient Egypt had a superhero, it would probably be her. She wasn't the strongest. She wasn't the queen of heaven. She wasn't the creator of the universe. But she had something that other gods often didn't have: patience, wisdom, and perhaps the most powerful magic anyone has ever believed in. Well, I think we can learn a lot from the myths and legends that exist in every culture and civilization for our lives today. Patience, diligence, and fighting for love. The lessons that the goddess Isis teaches us. Let's see what happened. Now here's something really interesting. Her Egyptian name wasn't actually Isis. It's the Greek version. The ancient Egyptians pronounced her Ist, and her name literally means throne. Yeah, a chair. Not exactly what you'd expect from one of history's greatest goddesses. But that throne wasn't just a piece of furniture. This throne represented kingship itself, the right to rule, the stability of Egypt, the continuity of the royal family. That's why if you look closely at ancient statues, you'll notice something above her head. Not a crown, not horns, not feathers. An actual hieroglyph in the shape of a throne. That little symbol literally spells out his name. Honestly, it's pretty clever. The Egyptians loved turning words into art. Now let's get to know his family, because, wow, they were complicated. His father was Geb, the god of the earth, not the god of the universe, the actual earth beneath your feet, the dirt, the rocks, the fertile earth. And his mother was Nat, the goddess of the sky. And every evening, according to Egyptian belief, Nat swallowed the sun. Every morning, she gave it new life. Imagine growing up in that family. Your father, literally the planet beneath your feet. Your mother, the sky above your head. Not exactly a typical childhood. He had 3 siblings, Osiris, Set, and Nephthys. And yeah, I know what you're thinking. If you listened to the previous episode, you're probably thinking, hey boy, wasn't Isis the wife of Osiris? Before anyone asks, Egyptian gods often married their brothers and sisters. It seems strange to us today, but in Egyptian mythology, it was a symbol of divine perfection and the maintenance of cosmic order, not human social customs. Osiris became his wife, Nephthys became his closest ally, and Set, well, Set became everyone's problem. We're definitely going to spend an entire episode talking about him. Trust me, he deserves it. Now, this is where Isis gets really interesting. She wasn't just a goddess of magic. This is actually a very small description. To the Egyptians, magic didn't mean waving a wand. It didn't mean throwing colored beams around the room. Magic, or Heka, it was one of the forces that held the universe together. And Isis was believed to understand it better than almost anyone. One famous story says that she even managed to learn the secret hidden name of the sun god, Ra. Now, in Egyptian thought, knowing someone's real name wasn't just about knowing what people called them. A real name carried power. If you knew it, you understood part of the essence of that being. You had access to some kind of divine authority. According to legend, Isis cleverly tricked Ra into revealing that secret name, not because she wanted to overthrow him, but because knowledge itself was one of the greatest forms of power. The story isn't really about deception. It's about wisdom, patience, and the belief that intelligence can do what brute force can't. To be honest, it's a surprisingly modern idea. But for all her magical abilities, that's still not what made people love Isis the most. People loved her because she mourned, she searched, she refused to lose hope. And in ancient Egypt, that mattered, almost more than anything else. So, let's imagine ancient Egypt for just a second. The Nile is flowing quietly, the fields are green, people are farming, temples are busy. Everything feels peaceful. In the previous episode, you remember that we talked about Osiris. We said that he was the husband and, of course, brother of Isis. He later became the Lord of the Dead. But what was the story? Let's learn more about him and return to the role of Isis. How are you, friends? And according to one of Egypt's most famous myths, that's because Osiris was king. The Egyptians believed Osiris wasn't just a ruler. He was the king who taught people how to live. He showed them how to grow grain instead of constantly hunting. He taught them agriculture, how to make bread, how to make wine, how communities could live together peacefully. Whether these things literally happened wasn't really the point. To the Egyptians, Osiris represented civilization itself. But every great story eventually meets jealousy. And in this one, jealousy had a name. Set, Isis and Osiris's own brother. Now, Set is one of the most misunderstood gods in Egyptian mythology. People often call him the god of evil, but that's actually an oversimplification. The ancient Egyptians didn't really divide the universe into pure good versus pure evil the way many modern religions do. Set represented something different. The desert, violent storms, foreign lands, chaos, unpredictable forces. Sometimes those forces were dangerous. Sometimes they were even necessary. But in this story, his jealousy became destructive. According to the best-known version of the myth, Set came up with a very clever plan. Yeah, seriously. Imagine being invited to what seems like a perfectly normal banquet and having absolutely no idea your brother has been planning this for weeks. Set had a beautiful wooden chest built. Not just any chest. It was made to fit one person. Perfectly. Almost like someone had secretly taken measurements beforehand. Kind of creepy when you think about it. During the feast, Set smiled, laughed, and announced a little game. Whoever fits perfectly inside this magnificent chest gets to keep it. Sounds harmless enough, right? One by one, people climbed inside. Too tall, too short, too wide, too small, until Osiris stepped in. And suddenly, the chest fit him exactly. Before he could climb back out, the lid slammed shut, locked, sealed. According to some ancient versions, molten lead was poured over the seams. Then the chest was carried away and thrown into the waters. Just like that, Egypt lost its king. Or at least, that's what everyone believed. Now here's where the story becomes something much bigger than murder. Because for Isis, this wasn't the end. It was the beginning of a search. And honestly, it's one of the most moving journeys in all of Egyptian mythology. She didn't gather an army. She didn't declare war. She simply started walking. Temple after temple, village after village, river after river. Looking, asking, never giving up. Ancient texts describe Isis as a goddess whose determination was every bit as powerful as her magic. And eventually, according to the tradition, she found the chest. Not in Egypt anymore, but far to the north, in the region the Greeks later called Byblos, on the eastern Mediterranean coast. Here's one of my favorite little details. The story says that a great tree had grown around the chest. Its trunk completely enclosed it. Years passed, and the local king was so impressed by this magnificent tree that he had it cut down and turned into a pillar for his palace. Imagine that. The body of a god. Wow! Hidden inside the heart of a tree, holding up the roof of a royal hall. It almost sounds like fantasy, but for the Egyptians, it carried a beautiful idea. Life can grow even around death. Eventually, Isis recovered the chest. She finally had Osiris back. At least, she thought she did, because the story wasn't finished yet. Not even close. Set discovered what had happened, and this time, his anger became even more violent. What he did next changed Egyptian religion forever. After Osiris's coffin was eventually found, Set's anger only grew stronger. One night, he came across Osiris's body again, tore it into many pieces, and scattered them across different parts of Egypt. His goal was simple: make sure Osiris could never come back. Isis refused to give up. Together with her sister Nephthys, she traveled all over Egypt searching for every piece of Osiris's body. After a long journey, they managed to recover almost all of them. In most versions of the story, only one part was missing: his genitals, because they had been thrown into the Nile and eaten by fish. Using her magical powers, Isis created a symbolic replacement so the body could be made whole again. With the help of Anubis, the god of embalming, Osiris's body was carefully wrapped and preserved. This became the first mummification in Egyptian mythology and served as the model for later burial practices. Although Osiris never returned to rule the living world, he was reborn in a different role. He became the ruler and judge of the Duat, the Egyptian underworld, where he welcomed and judged the souls of the dead for eternity. I'm glad we listened to this episode together. Support us so that we can spend more nights together learning about art history and have a peaceful sleep in its amazing legends. Don't forget to subscribe and like us. If you haven't listened to the previous episodes yet, you can listen to them in order in the Ancient Egyptian Art History playlist, friends. Have a good night. Until next episode, good night.